Do you trust Kim Jong-un?
Yes, I think that I've had a very good relationship. We have a good chemistry together. You know what that means, and that happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. And I really believe he's looking to, maybe even beyond trust, he's looking to do something for his country, maybe for his family, for himself, but he's looking to do the right thing. He wants to bring enterprise into North Korea. They have tremendous potential in terms of location. They have, you know, it's an amazing piece of property, to put it in real estate terms. It's got unbelievable natural potential, and I think he wants to do something with it.
Maybe build a condo on the beach. I saw the video.
Sure
it was awesome.
I'm sure it would do very well. No, I really believe that he doesn't want to go through what he would have to go through, because that would not be a good thing for anybody.
And let's talk about that. If he doesn't make good on his commitment, what is the U.S. prepared to do?
Well, first of all, we came to a wonderful agreement. It's a shame that the fake news covers it the way they do. It's honestly, it's almost treasonous, you want to know the truth, because we signed an agreement, and the big thing that they said was, I met. Okay, you know, there was nothing else you could say. They could say, I met. Well, in the meantime, we got our hostages back. We get the remains back of our great heroes that have died, thousands and thousands of young people. We get the remains back, and you have no idea how many people came up to me and said, could you get the remains of my father? And it was so sad. And at the time I said, you know, there's no relationship there. But the big thing is the denuclearization, and it says right in the first paragraph, we will denuclearize North Korea. It says it. And they'll say, oh, they didn't mention it. They would actually say it's not even mentioned. It was the number one thing. Obviously, my whole thing is about denuclearization. But it talked about all the different steps. It was an incredible piece of paper. And if you listen to the mainstream media, it's almost like I lost a negotiation. And it's not even a question of winning or losing. I'm not saying it from that standpoint. But look at all of the things we got. There's been no missiles fired. There's been no rockets fired. Japan thinks I'm like a world hero over there. They said, we haven't had missiles going over Japan for the last 6, 7 months. They were sending them over like it was the 4th of July. And so many other things, no nuclear testing. They're getting rid of their engine factory where they make the engines for the ballistic missiles. They're doing all of these things. And then to hear the mainstream media, that was the thing that most angered me. To hear the mainstream media, Chuck Todd actually stood up and said, the president got so little and North Korea got so much. And I'm saying, what did they get other than I met? I did meet. Now, the war games, that I call them war games, I've been against them for a year and a half. They cost a fortune. We fly bombers all the way from Guam, 6.5 massive bombers, drop bombs, and then they go back to Guam. Then they come back a second time. It's crazy. We spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on these war games. We're not being reimbursed by South Korea. We're not being reimbursed. And I've been after this a long time. I say, number one, it is very provocative. But number two, who wants to spend this kind of money? So very interesting. The deal is phenomenal. But if you read the mainstream media, now if you talk about the fair press, which is a lot of people also, in all fairness, it got rave reviews. And in Asia, and they know better than anybody else, all of Asia, they are thrilled. They are thrilled.
The embassy was moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I was there. It was as surreal a moment as I've ever witnessed. You made that promise. You kept that promise. What was it that just made you decide to do what no other president, even though they had promised it as well, what made you decide, I'm going to do this because I said I would?
Well, the embassy was a big thing, but it was for many presidents before me, and everybody campaigned that they were going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and nobody did it. And I never understood why. I really never did. I knew there would be pressure, but I never understood. But I do understand now, because 2 weeks before I did it, when the word was out that I was going to do it, I was called by so many countries saying, please don't do it. I mean, I was called, actually got to a point where I said, I'll call you back in a week, because I didn't want to have them tell me don't do it and then I do it, because I was going to do it. It was a campaign promise. I thought it was very important. And you know who really likes it the most are the evangelicals. I'll tell you what, I get more calls of thank you from evangelicals, and I see it in the audiences and everything else, than I do from Jewish people. And the Jewish people appreciate it, but the evangelicals appreciate more than the Jews, which is incredible. But
it's not a surprise, though, Mr. President, because evangelicals are people of the book, and they believe that you kept a promise that was fulfilling really 3,000-year-old commitment to recognize Jerusalem as the capital.
I think it's a nice thing to say because it really, I mean, you know, it really affects Jewish people in theory more.
Yeah.
But as you say, people of the book, okay, people of the Bible. But the evangelicals really appreciate it, and that makes me feel good. But nobody did it. I never understood why. As soon as that second week hit up, and once I did it, it was something very special. It's an important event.
Immigration has been a controversy over the past several weeks. And what is it that Americans need to know that they're not hearing from the media?
That it's the Democrats' fault. They refuse to sit down and draw an agreement that's good for security and good for everybody. We need merit-based immigration. You know, we're taking in people that will never help us as a country. You know, it's okay for people to help us as a country. It's okay for people to go out and work for some of these new companies that are moving into our country, of which we have many. But I think more than anything else, it's the fact that we need people that can help us. We want a merit-based immigration system. We need safety at the border. We need the wall. The wall's going to happen. It's going to happen. We have to have the wall. If anything, it shows how much we need the wall. But it's the Democrats' fault, but it wouldn't be their fault for long if they sat down with us. We could make a deal so quickly. But the question is, do they mind having open borders? And it's looking like they really want open borders, and they want really crime to pour in, because, you know, we have people, we're doing an incredible job in terms of security. MS-13, horrible gangs, we're getting them out by the thousands. But our job would be so much easier if we had what we need on border security, border safety. We need the Democrats to come to the table and make a deal.
Are you optimistic that you'll be able to persuade Congress to come to the table? I mean, you've been more generous than they even originally asked for in terms of everything except the wall. They don't want a wall. But if they give you the wall, you're giving them more than they originally asked for. Well, a wall and very strong border security, and get rid of catch and release, get rid of the chain migration, which is very tough, get rid of, and you know, the all-time beauty is the lottery. We pick names out. So do you think the country is giving us their finest? Are they giving us the Sarah Huckabees of the world? I don't think so, okay? I don't think so. They're giving us some rough, tough people. And we want merit. We don't want that. So we don't want a lottery system. I mean, who can blame a country, Honduras and these different, who can blame them? But one other thing I want to do is, you know, you take a country like Honduras or so many others, they're sending people into our country by the thousands. I think we should stop giving them money. I think we give them tremendous aid. Why are we giving them aid when they're letting people pour out of their country? And they're pushing them out. When they're letting people pour out of their country and they're coming through the borders. Why isn't Mexico, and we are doing it, we're making Mexico pay a price, but why isn't Mexico stopping them more? Had I not gotten on the phone and let them know last week when they had the caravan, you know, it started with 2,000 people and about 100 people got in. But Mexico has very, very strong immigration laws, like really strong, among the strongest. They could stop them cold if they wanted to. There wouldn't be people walking across Mexico like that, but they walk right across Mexico, which is a long journey. Mexico is a bigger place than people understand, and they come in. I don't want Mexico to let them walk across their country. But we wouldn't even have to worry about that if we had strong border laws, which we have to have. Let's talk about the economy a minute. Highest number of people among minorities have jobs in the history of the U.S., not just in the last 10 or 15 years, in history.
Black and Hispanic have the best unemployment they've ever had in recording, you know, history in terms of great numbers. So we have the best number, lowest unemployment in history for black, and they love it. African American people have never had a job situation like this, the lowest in history, unemployment, lowest unemployment in history for Hispanic. Among the lowest for women, it's 21 years now. 21 years, it's the best for women. We're doing really well. The country's doing well. Companies are coming back into the country. I'm trying to, and I'll succeed. It's actually not even going to be tough, frankly. But our trade is so imbalanced between China, and the European Union and Mexico and so many other countries. For years, they've taken advantage of the country. We have to straighten it out, and we're in the process of straightening it out.
You mentioned the trade issue. People have accused you of saying, well, you want to create a trade war, but I've heard you repeatedly say you want no tariffs from anybody. That's about as free trade can get.
Well, I actually offered that to Canada. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, if you think it's so wonderful, let's just go no tariffs. You know, Canada on milk and dairy products charges us 300% a tariff. So when our farmers send in milk, so what does that really mean, though, Mike? It means they don't send it because it's not competitive, okay? So Canada doesn't take it. And they try and act aggrieved, you know, with their prime minister. They try and act nice and aggrieved. Oh, isn't it terrible? We fought World War I together, World War II together. They have tariffs that are massive. They don't take care of our people in Wisconsin. They don't take care of our people in New York State. They don't take care of a lot of the dairy places. They won't take our product. And they do it by having these massive tariffs, and they shouldn't be. I actually told them, I said, look, here's what we do. Nobody gets tariffs. No more barriers. You know, they have a lot of barriers. The European Union has barriers. They won't take our products. So they have a barrier. And yet they'll send in Mercedes and BMWs, the cars. They'll send them right in. It's not right. And I told them, that's why we put steel. And by the way, our steel industry is coming back. United States Steel is now expanding and opening 6 new plants. Others are, our steel industry, you know, I put a 25% tariff on. Our steel industry is coming back because that way they don't have to pay the tariff. It's very nice, actually. You know, we put it also, Mike, it's very interesting. We put it on solar panels, and we had 32 empty plants. We had 32 plants, so many of them closed. Now many of them are opening again. We put a tariff, a 30% tariff on solar panels. Washing machines, you wouldn't think it's a big business. It's a very big business. We put a tariff on washing machines because they were dumping washing machines all over the country. And not good ones either, by the way. They didn't work so well. Now all of a sudden we're expanding our washing machine production business in the country because companies, even if they're outsiders, they come in because they don't want to pay the tax. It's actually a very beautiful thing that's happening. People don't quite get it yet, but they will.
3 years ago this week, you came down the escalator of Trump Tower and you announced you were running for president. The skeptics were enormously plenteous everywhere. We're sitting here in the cabinet room of the White House, where you've been president for a year and a half. Do you look back on some of your skeptics and critics and just wonder what they were missing?
Well, I look back on you when you said he's going to win, okay, very early.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy saying that when I was a candidate.
You even held up
Mr.
my tie.
President.
You said, look, I wear one of his ties. But you said that. It was great. Now, you've been so great right from the beginning. You're a real professional. I mean, really incredible. That actually meant something. I said, if he says that, it means something. And the other guys knew it meant something, too. You know what? We've done a record amount in 100 and, you think of it, it's 510 days. In 510 days, a lot of people are saying we've done more than any president ever in their first 500 days. And I think we have regulation, the big cut in taxes. You know, regulations, I've cut more regulations than any other president in 4 years, 8 years, or, you know, in the case, we have a 16-yearer, right? Yeah. I've cut more regulations than any other president by far, and we're talking about 500 days. The country's doing well. Companies are coming back. The jobs are the best they've been. You saw the other day, jobs are the best they've been in 44 years. Okay, so we're doing very well, and I'm very proud of it.
As well, you should be. Mr. President, an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.